The year is 2002. Brazil just won the 5th World Cup. The Eminem Show was released. Princess Margaret passed away. And oh yeah, people were randomly seeing VHS tapes containing disturbing footage. Later they would find out that they were just advertisements for a movie. And that movie was The Ring. And here I am, 20 years later, remembering how amazing the movie was when I first saw it. So I decided I was going to watch it again and see how good it is today. I know some movies are timeless, like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, The Lord of the Rings trilogy, and The Disaster Artist. But sometimes good movies don't age well, like the first Harry Potter movie. I mean, just look at this. Who decided that this was okay? Now, as I talk about this movie, be sure to know that I will spoil everything about the movie. Because based on the rulebook of spoiling, I am allowed to spoil anything I want about a movie if it hits the 20-year mark. So, I rest my case. Now let's get into it. The Ring was released theatrically on October 18, 2002, directed by Gore Verbinski from a screenplay by Aaron Kruger. It is a remake of Hideo Nakata's 1998 Japanese horror film, Ring, based on Koji Suzuki's 1991 anonymous novel, which I didn't know until today. Maybe I should check that out. So the movie starts at a suburban home in Seattle, Washington. Two friends, Katie Embry and Becca Kotler, discuss their town's resident legend of a cursed videotape, which kills the viewer after 7 days. Katie claims she watched the tape a week ago with her boyfriend Josh and 2 other friends. Becca thought it was just a story going around, until the phone rang and she saw the look of horror on Katie's face. Later that night, after some spooky incidents, as she was entering her bedroom, the camera zooms in on her frightened face so fast she dies. But not from the zoom in. 3 days later, we have a certain blonde woman picking up her son from school. We learn that her name is Rachel Keller. She distinctively tells the teacher to call her Rachel. Twice.
Call me Rachel. Miss Keller. Rachel.
Even her son calls her Rachel. Mom is so overrated, I guess. But the teacher explains to Rachel that her son has been drawing his dead cousin Katie in very disturbing fashion, and that these drawings were before Katie died. Katie had told him she was going to die. Rachel Keller, who was her aunt, asked Katie's mother, Ruth Emery, about her sudden death. Ruth asks for Rachel's help on finding out who did this to her daughter. Given that she was a very good journalist, she could use her skills to figure out what happened. And anyone who had seen this movie knows about this scene. I mean, after watching it again 20 years later, I still got the jitters. I think this is one of the most frightening jump scares I've ever experienced. Here, see for yourself.
I saw her face.
Rachel begins investigating her death, learning that Josh, Stacy, and Scott all died at 10 p.m. on the same night as Katie, all with disfigured appearances. Thanks to the information provided by Seth from the OC and a photo gallery from images Katie took with her camera, Rachel travels to Shelter Mountain Inn, where the four stayed, discovering the cursed videotape, which contains monotone, disturbing imagery, and watching it in cabin 12. Once the tape ends, an unknown caller contacts Rachel, whispering, "EA Games challenge everything." Just kidding, she whispers 7 days. Let the games begin. No, not the EA games, I'm talking about the movie. Day 1. Rachel sets out to find out more about the tape she has seen the day prior. She recruits her ex-boyfriend Noah Clay to study the tape. He also views the tape and doesn't really take it seriously at the moment, but decides to help investigate nevertheless. He asks Rachel to make him a copy to find out more about the tape. She heads out to the audiovisual room at work and makes him a copy, intrigued by a certain bug on the screen from one of the disturbing parts of the tape. You see, the tape was bugged. Get it? Bugged? Because there was a bug on the screen, and it's also bugged? Yes. Day 2. After Rachel presents the tape to Noah, he finds out the copy is messed up, that it doesn't have a signature to find out the source of the original, like being born without fingerprints. As they sit and review parts of the tape, they spot an extra partial frame that wasn't meant to be on the tape. Aha, the bug I was talking about. After Noah's girlfriend arrives, Rachel takes the tape and leaves before she could see it. She had a little argument with Noah, who still isn't worked up about the tape. She tells him to grow up and leaves. Damn, I think she was jealous. Like, madam, come on. You're about to die, you can't be worked up on some drama shit. You grow up. But as she walks out the building, she passes through a tall ladder and freezes for a moment, remembering that she'd seen this ladder in the tape. Now she's thinking, maybe everything she sees in the tape, she will see in real life throughout these 7 days. We shall also see. Day 3. Rachel's next step is to gather more information on the night Katie dies. She goes to the mental institution where Becca is being treated. Rachel asks about the videotape and how she died. Becca, still out of it, tells Rachel that she will find out how Katie died in 4 days and that she will show you. It's like she knew, but how did she know if she didn't see the tape? Rachel then goes back to a more advanced audio-visual department, the big boy department, with more features that allow her to see the partial track or frame and print a copy of it. Turns out that bug was a lighthouse, and the bug on the screen appears again. Not the lighthouse, the actual bug. Weirdly enough, this time she is able to pull it off the screen. The bug, not the lighthouse. Another part of the tape that she sees in real life. Get it? Because she pulled it out of the screen, and now the bug is real? This is the last time, I promise. Day 4. Rachel heads to the public library and researches lighthouses, hoping to find the same one from the tape. She finds out that the lighthouse is located in Moesco Island, which is unfortunately a fictional island and isn't a real lighthouse. But that would have been cool. I mean, given that this movie has a cult following, it would do for great tourism if you ask me. But what we do know is that it's a relatively large island off the coast of Washington. As Rachel browses Internet Explorer, she finds the Rosetta Stone channel and subscribes, likes every video. Maybe you should too. She also finds out more about the residents of the island. In one picture, there is a group of women in front of the lighthouse. Rachel noticed that one of the women was the same lady brushing her hair in front of the mirror in the tape. Her name was Anna Morgan. She finds out she was heavily involved in horse breeding. Was. Day 5. Rachel plans to go to Moesco Island. She calls her sister to babysit Aiden while she's gone, when she chokes on a thread of long hair, something that was also in the disturbing videotape. As she goes back to her son's room, she sees a completely soaked girl sitting on a chair. As she comes close, the girl grabs her, and Rachel wakes up from this nightmare. Although the girl left a scar where she grabbed her, the real nightmare is yet to come. As she goes to check on Aiden, she hears some familiar noises coming from the living room. It was Aiden, watching the disturbing tape. And the Mother of the Year award goes to Rachel. You just had to keep that tape laying around in that living room, didn't you? That was the real nightmare. The phone rings, and because of all the anger and frustration, Rachel becomes British.
This guy, man, you'll shut your mouth, rude boy!
It was only Noah calling to let her know that he believes her. She tells him that their son watched the tape, like we didn't already know that Aiden was their son. Day 6. Rachel and Noah drop off their son at Ruth's, Rachel's sister, and they set out to Moesco Island. They eventually decide to split up, that she investigates Moesco Island and he investigates the mental hospital. While on the ferry to Moesco Island, as Rachel was reading the old newspaper about the horses, she finds out that Anna Morgan had a daughter. She then spots a horse and decides to be playful with him. But he wasn't having it and went crazy on her. He was able to get out his cage and cause some havoc before committing suicide, just like the horses in the videotape. Rachel visits the farmhouse from the videotape. She identifies Mr. Morgan and asks him some questions. He thinks she is just like the rest of the reporters, that she would ask about the horses, and she did so in the beginning. But then she got personal. She started asking about the tape. His wife. He isn't interested and gets upset. Really gets pissed off when she asks about his daughter, so he kicks her out. Rachel then finds out that the little girl is able to communicate with Aiden, that she told him to draw the house and the rings, and she also told him that she hates the horses because they kept her up at night, and that she lives in a dark place. Rachel then visits the only doctor in the island and asks her about the little girl. She gets information that they adopted the girl and her name was Samara. and that Anna suffered miscarriage after miscarriage. Soon after adopting Samara, Anna started having terrible visions and seeked the doctor's help. The doctor referred her to a psychiatric hospital and she didn't ask about her again. I guess she was out of network. Get it? No? Okay, I'm sorry. And that things in the island have been better ever since. Noah manages to sneak in the hospital and obtain some information about Anna Morgan. He also finds out that Anna had a bunch of miscarriages and that there was a videotape. As he tries to get his hands on the tape, he finds out that Richard Morgan took the tape from the hospital. So he sets off to meet with Rachel in Moesco Island. It is nighttime now and Rachel goes back to Mr. Morgan's house. The door is left open and things get spooky. That is, if you're scared of centipedes. Rachel makes herself at home, puts on a videotape of his session with Samara and the psychiatrist. She realizes that Samara is superhuman with special abilities, which explains the tape's existence. Rachel also finds out that Richard loved the horses more than his adopted child, and the Father of the Year award goes to Richard Morgan. Oh, the abuse. Richard smacks Rachel right across the face and takes his TV with him upstairs to the bathroom. A soaking wet bathroom filled with electric wires. He steps into the bathtub and is ready to off himself. He can't take it anymore. He also hears Samara in his sleep. The whispering never ends. With all the ways to kill himself, he decides to do it with the most painful way possible. As she turns away with horror, Noah was there to comfort her at the right time. Rachel then realizes that the little girl doesn't like the water, and that the horses keep her awake, a hint that she must have seen hanging out in the barn. And she was right. Samara's room was there. She was kept there with a TV. Then they discovered that the wall was burned, or perhaps branded, with a burning tree. Rachel noticed the tree. She had seen it before in Shelter Mountain. Day 7. They go back to Shelter Mountain Inn, where she had seen the tree. After driving all the way back, she realizes that the trip was useless. Noah enraged. No, it can't be possible. Useless? He wasn't having it, and started tearing the place apart, tossing a bunch of marbles in the process. And then those marbles that were dropped eventually lead them to a burned ring shape under the carpet. Samara was there. They continue breaking their way through, and there it was. The well from the videotape. They drop a rock to see how far it goes, and a bunch of flies come up storming. Rachel then loses her balance and the TV drops on her and pushes her down the well. She gains consciousness down there, and it's almost time for her death. The sun is setting and the well is closing, and out of nowhere, Samara grabs her by the arm and shows her a vision. The vision of Samara's mother choking her in front of the well and dropping her down, thinking she had killed her. But then Samara wakes up with the image of the well closed and the sunlight forming the shape of a ring. She would go on to live 7 days in the well before she dies. Back to reality, and Samara is in Rachel's arm, except this time it was her corpse. Rachel believes she figured it out and solved the case, and that she will not die perhaps. Rachel and Noah go home to their son, and it appears that their bond with each other has grown. The next morning, Aiden questions Rachel about the girl. Rachel explains with pride that she set her free. Aiden is shocked. He tells Rachel that she shouldn't have helped her. Rachel then sees the burn hand marks in Aiden's arm. Also in disbelief, she had thought she saved him. But no, she set her free. Now it is day 7 for Noah. He's at home working and the TV turns on by itself twice. And on the TV was the well. Rachel was calling him, but he was ignoring those calls. He was too focused on the TV. And there she was, Samara, climbing up the well and coming towards him. She comes out of the television, and with just one look, and no, this is not a romantic pop song, she actually kills him with a look. Rachel arrives at Noah's apartment, but she is too late. She later questions herself, why not her, as she was burning the tape in frustration. Then it clicks. She watched the copy after the original, which I believe discards the original. There go the person watching the copy won't die. Please correct me if I'm wrong. She makes her son watch it, and he will be fine. But what of everyone else who watches it? Samara won't stop. She never sleeps. And now she is free. Now, the question we were asking in the video. Is this movie good in 2022? I would say, very, very good. Exquisite if you ask me. Especially compared to everything coming out these days. The production of this movie is top-notch. We also have Hans Zimmer giving us an amazing score. The editing is better than most horror movies these days. I mean, have you guys seen Resident Evil? Do not. Please do not. Now, the story of this movie shouldn't make sense. It shouldn't work. And it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, a girl coming out of the TV? What nonsense is this? How is she coming out of the TV? Why aren't there videos in the internet explaining how she's coming out of the TV? But because this movie is so well done, I feel like the viewers can just go with the flow. Like I mentioned, the directing was top quality. There isn't a moment in the movie where you lose interest. There isn't a character in this movie where you go, who is this peasant? I don't care about the story arc. It's minimal in a way, which is good. I mean, it is a movie, not a show. So in this case, less is better. The lore is very interesting as well. You want to know what happened and why things happened. And also, they killed one of the main characters. So they do get some points in the plot armor department. Now for those of you who don't know, there is a sequel. And if you did enjoy this video, then perhaps I can revisit it and see how good that was. I've only watched the sequel once. And no, I'm not talking about Rings. Fuck that shit. So to answer the question, how good is this movie 20 years later? Well, it's a fantastic movie. It still goes hard to this day. I would give it 8.5 out of 10. Great directing, great score, intriguing and interesting lore. The points I took away were because there weren't enough scary moments maybe, and the story is just kind of ridiculous. But like I said, it's not really an issue if everything else is well done. Thank you for watching this video. Please do subscribe to the channel and like this video. And if you have any suggestions for future movies that you'd like for me to cover, let me know. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.